Okay, so Dave, thanks again. I see you're in sunny New York there.
Yes, beautiful here.
And Donald Trump unexpectedly won the election. Everybody's in shock, but life goes on. So, what impact do you think the Trump presidency is going to have on business in general, and what trends do you think this is going to generate?
Well, I'm going to take him at his word that he is going to be anxious to reduce regulation.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you've heard his promise that for every new regulation that is wanted, two have to be eliminated.
Yeah.
I certainly hope that's true because the American business climate has become really choked with the amount of regulation, the taxing authorities, the difficulties of incorporating in certain places and states and rules and regulations.
Yeah, you're becoming like Europe. I mean, where Europe was trying to become like America, it's America in the last 8-10 years has become like Europe. I mean, here the regulations,
Right.
which is why in England everybody said, forget this whole thing, Europe, we're going to go alone. And so
Right,
Brexit happened.
right. Well, the Trump election was just a further continuation of Brexit, for sure. It was this same kind of anger that drove our electorate to vote for Trump because they wanted a change. So I do think he will certainly look at the tax code. I don't know that he'll be successful in dropping the tax code to 15%, the way that he has said, but I think he'll achieve some cut, which the Republicans have always believed. But if it turns out that that's going to create an even larger deficit for us and increase our debt load as a country, I think Congress will have a hard time following him on that. I think there will be some cut that will stimulate some additional investment, cash, additional jobs. One thing about our country is we are full of entrepreneurial people, and I heard someone give a speech recently that traced that to the Pilgrims. They just said, look, those people wouldn't have gotten up and gotten on boats and gone to some place that they had no idea about unless they had these entrepreneurial genes. And that's how the country has been built, is by these great inventions, great minds.
They didn't have Google, did they, at that time?
No. So all these technology businesses now that are starting in this country, the number of incubators for startups, the number of kids you hear graduating from business school who are not going to the big four accounting firms or even to the consulting firms, they're launching their own business.
Yeah.
And I think what Trump wants to do, what I hope he does do, is support those kind of efforts in terms of the tax laws, the regulations, give them a break. We have to do something about Obamacare, in my view. Yeah. It is way too expensive, and the rise in premiums has been prohibitive for businesses. So we have to do something. I don't think we have to repeal the whole thing because there are a number of very positive things about it, but it has to be amended and changed. So all of this, I think, leads us to a point where America will become better for business for Americans. The trade deals, the things he said he wants to do about trade, may make it more difficult for China and others to import what they have to our country. That's at least his stated desire, and I do think he'll be successful in making the trade deals more equitable for the U.S. and therefore stimulate more jobs, more economy. To me, it's very refreshing, whether you like him or not, to have a business person in the office.
Yeah.
And I'm hopeful that the changes that get made by both he and the legislature, the Congress, will be positive for business. I think they will.
Yeah. So do you think this is going to generate new businesses? Encourage people to set up a business? And as you were saying before, a lot of young people leaving university now are not going into the large firms, they're setting up businesses. So do you think there's going to be more and more of that, more little entrepreneurs? Yeah.
I do think you will see even more startups, but I also think you'll see changes in the banking system, because getting financing for businesses has been impossible over the last decade. The banks are so tied with regulation, and their measures are so difficult after the banking crisis of 2008 and 9. I think you're going to see the banks get the clamps taken off. I think there's going to be more capital available for startups, and that will stimulate the economy. The growth of the U.S. economy at 1% is miserable. I can tell you, it doesn't do much for employment. We have a large skilled work population here, and at the end of the Bush era, we had unemployment of over 10%. It's come way down during the Obama administration. You have to give him credit for that.
Yeah.
But I hope that we can find even further ways to put more and more people to work, thus reducing their dependence upon the welfare system and reducing the load that we have to carry there, ending up with lower taxes and more opportunities. The problem is, I think it's also going to lead to a rise in interest rates.
Yeah, okay. So as an entrepreneur, are you going to be doing anything different now that Trump's going to be in the White House? Or are you still going to continue with your plans that you had before? Or is this surprise election win on behalf of Trump going to change something in the way you do business?
Well, we exist in a specialty industry, large industry in sports and media and entertainment. That's where we exist. That's where we do all of our transactions. And I think, if anything, we are emboldened by the fact that we think things are going to get more positive for business.
Yeah.
So we are finding lots of people who have capital to invest, who after the Trump election feel more confident, frankly, about going forward, about investing. And so we bought one company last month that's actually in the UK and Australia.
Okay.
And we've signed a term sheet on another company, an American company, but one that will lead us to an international roll-up. And our capital conversations with partners and financing is very, very positive. There's a lot of money chasing deals, and we aim to get a good chunk of that.
Okay, so it's basically helping you to implement your plan a lot faster then.
Yes, more ambitious. We've raised our sights.
That's good. So what advice would you give to current entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs now that Trump is in the White House? And what opportunity is there now here for these people that wasn't there like a few weeks ago?
Well, I do think that it is a time to be ambitious and even aggressive, because when the economy fully recovers and when we have growth that is double or triple what it's been in the past decade, prices will go up, deals will be harder to make. So this is a time, in my view, if you're doing a startup, raise the capital you need, get out there, get going. And be confident that the future is going to be better for American businesses. That regulations will be less, that tax rates will be lower, and that you'll have more support from the government. So I would be ambitious and aggressive. I would also include in your models going forward higher interest costs, higher cost of capital, because I think the weighted average cost of capital will increase steadily now over the next 5 years. Yeah,
I mean, we've noticed in the private jet world over the last 12 months, there's been a pile of private jets coming on the market. The pre-owned market has increased, where before there was maybe 20 of a certain model on the market. Today there's about 30, and they're, in particular, the large cabin aircraft. But since Trump has got in, I mean, we've been inundated with phone calls. And deals are starting to move quick, and I think people are realizing that if you're going to need a private jet for your business that can move you around quickly, now's the time to buy it, because the prices are low, but they're not going to stay low, because I think coming into the new year that people are going to start buying the jets, and so the prices are going to start to come up again. So it's a similar situation to what you're saying. Get in there now while the prices are low, and move fast before the interest rates and everything else starts to get more expensive.
Yes, agree.
Yeah,
definitely agree.
So there's a lot happening. And what do you think? I mean, outside America, how do you think this whole Trump thing is going to affect outside America? I mean, Europe, I mean, China, Vietnam, these upcoming economies. Is there going to be any difference there? Is there still going to be possibilities and opportunities for companies overseas to do business with American companies, or do you think this is going to be like put on hold? And
I think everybody internationally is holding on to their helmets. I mean, they are expecting tougher trade deals. I think under Trump will continue to be a good citizen of the world when it comes to helping out in catastrophes, difficulties. There's a very big charitable effort underway here that, quite often we're the first on the scene in a tsunami or other things. So I think we'll continue to be a good citizen of the world, but I do think that NAFTA and the Pacific Pipeline, these things are going to change and go away. I also think that the notion that these companies can step up and buy huge media companies. I think the Time Warner deal now will not happen.
Yeah.
I don't think that Donald thinks that's necessarily good for business. These titans that control too much power. So he wants to stimulate demand, but he wants to support businesses. But even he is careful about trying to maintain a competitive and free market because he knows that will contribute to our growth.
Yeah, but the whole media thing. I mean, I've observed Brexit very carefully, being here in the UK, and I think the battle was won using social media, and I think Donald Trump won the election because he used social media more effectively. And I think the whole media thing now is people aren't watching television anymore. They say your cell phone is now your TV, and your TV is now your radio. Right. So things have changed. People don't sit there and watch CNN like they used to. They get their news on the newsfeed on their phones and that. So, this whole model of the world to do with the media and that has really, really changed. I mean, Brexit, it wasn't expected to happen here in England. It did. Trump wasn't expected to win in America. It did. And because both the Brexit people and the Trump team were both using social media effectively. So social media is here to stay. And so, I mean, look at Netflix, for example. Netflix is kind of the new TV. Amazon are now into TV. Talks of Apple buying Netflix. I mean, these I think the spaces we got to watch, in particular with the media and that. And so this big deal you just mentioned, maybe that's something of the 20th century. Maybe now we need to start looking at other things. I mean, now this these new rising rock stars or famous singers and that, like the piano guys and that other young lady that plays the violin and dances. They all started with YouTube.
Right.
And then people started to watch, and then before you know it, Sony Records rings and does a deal. So we are in a world today where I think there's great opportunity because with very little or if not no money, if you've got something to say, you can get on there. I mean, some of these YouTubers are raking in $3, $4, $5 million a year, and it's a new business, it's a new world, it's a great opportunity though.
Well, and the changes that will take place in broadcasting in this country, the regional sports networks kind of going away, even the cable channels in trouble, because people, there's a segment. If you like the Ultimate Fighting Championships, you're willing to pay a lot for a dedicated channel to that, but you don't want the other 140 channels that you never watch. So that these over-the-top specialty networks will be the way that media is distributed to your mobile and elsewhere. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Dave, that's been great chatting. Great to hear your insight on what effect Trump's going to have on the business world. I wish you luck with everything, and we'll speak again soon.
Thank you, sir. Nice to see you, as always.
Okay. Speak soon.